Audio is going, and we're
I'm
starting a
literally going to
show.
be eating General's chicken the whole time, so you can pay
In 3, 2, 1.
Just drop that ass, bitch. It's open micers in the house. Pop that pussy with that open micers logo in your mouth. Jason with his bald ass head. Jacob looking in bed. It's open micers, bitch. Heard what I said. Drop that ass. Open micers in the house. Drop that ass, pop that pussy. Open micers in the house. Open micers in the house. Open micers is a mouse. Drop that ass, pop that pussy. Open micers in the house. The mic is now open.
That's right. The mic is now open. I am the flu-ridden Jason Robbins.
And, I am the diabetes-ridden Jacob Craig, currently eating General's chicken on the podcast, because why wouldn't I? Why try to be professional now is really how I look at it. 250-something episodes into. See, I don't even know what episode of the podcast we're on, but now is not the time for me to not eat General's chicken on the podcast. Jason, I'm having one of the worst weeks of my life this week. I just have to tell you, it's been a real shitty week for me so far, but I think it's that this is going to be the turning point. I think it's going to turn tonight, because we have a very interesting interview for you guys. If you've been a fan of the show for a long time, we talk to everybody in comedy. We talk to everybody that does anything in comedy. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's, comedy in person in front of an audience. And it doesn't matter if it's virtual comedy, like our guest tonight does. He is a comedian with a lot of experience doing comedy in the VR realm, doing VR comedy. Let's get him in here. Let's have him join the conversation. It is Feddun, everybody. What's up, man?
Hey, how are y'all doing? I'm sorry to hear you're having a bad week, man. I'm glad that you have hope that I can help turn it around.
Yeah, not that much hope, but I think there's no way you can make it worse.
I mean, I you don't want me to try. I'm gonna try and make it better.
Definitely don't try to make it worse. But Feddun, I don't. We got to get into the stage name, because listen, let me just be upfront and honest with you. I hate stage names. I just hate them with a passion. But I think that you get a pass because you use it through the VR comedy stuff, so it's a little unique. What is the story behind the stage name Feddun?
Well, I think actually, I think you might even give me a little bit more of a pass, because the name Feddun became like my gamer tag long before it was my stage name, and that dates back to, I think, like 1998. I'm aging myself here a little bit. There was a game called EverQuest, which was a game kind of like World of Warcraft before World of Warcraft existed.
Sick.
It was basically a MUD with graphics. And I had a halfling. They weren't called hobbits.
Jacob doesn't know what a MUD is. He's too young to know what a MUD is.
That's okay. A MUD was like a text-based RPG in IRC chat.
Okay.
Where, like, you've probably seen some text-based games. I think they haven't disappeared entirely. But instead of having actual like visuals, it would basically narrate to you like D&D would. This was like one of the first games that, but after Ultima Online, that had a multiplayer. It was a massively multiplayer online RPG, and I was terrible at it. I was a young kid, but I made up a name for my halfling, and I've never seen the name anywhere else ever. I've never had to add a number to it. I've never had to, and now that now this goes out, like everybody's gonna like try and just like shark my domains and stuff. But yeah, I it was original. It just kind of stuck. When it became time to pick like an Xbox gamer tag, that's what I did. And then the way it became my stage name was actually not originally was stand-up comedy even. I've been doing stand-up comedy for about 18 months, and I've done quite a bit in person as well, like in real life, but I've worked out a lot of material in VR. And I first came across VR comedy during the pandemic as an audience member. and which was a lot of fun actually. Like to find a live comedy show during the pandemic was pretty magical, and like Zoom.
So when you say you found a virtual comedy show, is it like I know there's like when you using like the Meta Quest or whatever, like there's like this central hub where you go and like hang out with people. Is that what you mean, like going there and finding like a comedy night?
Sort of. So there used to be, Microsoft used to have their own version of the central. So Meta has their Horizon Worlds central app. And some of the VR comedy that goes on now exists there. Some of it exists in a program called VR Chat, which was actually far more popular than almost any other VR game. It's a like predates Meta's VR headsets. It started on PC. It runs on the standalone. It runs on the older versions. And I mean, I think at any given time, there's several 100,000 people online on that platform.
I remember something like that on the PlayStation 3, I think.
Yeah, on PSVR, I think it's on there. The problem with VR Chat is like there are like a lot of like the furry community and things like that. It's like the cheapest place to be a furry, really, because like you can put on an animal costume for free. All you got to do is get the headset, and you know. But there's a whole bunch of different like pockets of social groups going on there, and to be honest with you, one of the places that they all kind of meld is comedy. But I first came across it in Alt Space was the name of the app. It's dead now. It was Microsoft's kind of VR social app. To be honest with you, it was probably better than anything that we have now. Unfortunately, they killed it. Microsoft kind of has gotten out of the VR game in a lot of ways. But I went to a comedy show there, and I sat at a table. They had a bouncer. Once the show started, you couldn't come in. It felt like a real like professionally run thing, and I was like, "This is really interesting." And then the comedian roasted me because I had given my avatar a receding hairline, and he's like, "You don't have to do that, like you can look however you want." And that stuck with me, and I'm actually now that's a good friend of mine. His name is Tommy Simbazo. But there's, I think, several things about VR live events that are kind of magical in a way. And there's a few different types, right? So one technology that Microsoft was experimenting with, and I'm not sure how much y'all have done VR, but when you put on a VR headset, everything is in full 3D. You really feel like you're in a three-dimensional space. And Microsoft had developed a camera that would basically project a hologram of a person into VR. And so they were having music performances in that with a live performer. Mm-hmm. In VR comedy, the best way I can describe it is it's like you're wearing a motion capture suit. And then that motion capture suit is is what controls your avatar in VR. And everybody else in there is also wearing a motion capture suit. And it's not really a motion capture suit, but it has a bunch of cameras that track your body movements and your head movements. And they've gotten pretty good at emulating, different facial expressions. Apple's headset actually has like face tracking, but that I don't know of anybody using that for VR comedy yet. But that's the future of it. It's limited. I mean, I will say, let me just say this: like, if there's a step between Zoom and in real life, then it's VR. But it's not a replacement for real life. It never could be.
Because see, I was just kind of wondering.
Describing is it's like doing comedy on set of a Planet of the Apes movie.
Sort of.
Where you're in motion capture and everyone else is also in motion capture, and you're not really a monkey, but you're all pretending to be monkeys.
That's right. I think the only real difference is like if you were on set at the Planet of the Apes movie, all you see around you is a green screen. Whereas with the VR headset, it works two ways, right? So like these cameras and these controllers track my movement within my room and translates that movement to other people. But then I'm looking into that same world through these lenses that everybody else is. And so whereas I can see your face and like we can actually make like real eye contact, and that's like one level of connection that's pretty cool. Modern technology is pretty awesome. But in VR, it's almost, even though you can't see their real face, it almost feels like a bigger sense of connection, because it does feel like you're sharing a physical space together, and you can high five, and you can, and when you high five, there's a sound reaction. There might be a haptic feedback. It doesn't feel the same as high fiving, but it's a whole lot better than if like you and I pretended to high five here on camera. You know what I mean? So it really is like, it's not a replacement for real life stand-up comedy. Never will be. I mean, maybe one day with full face tracking and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, I think we should get Andy Serkis on the case. I think if anyone can bridge the gap, I think it's Andy Serkis.
I agree. Well, what's interesting, you mentioned that. So I didn't start performing in VR as a stand-up comic. At first it started like there were karaoke nights, and I've always been a karaoke fan, and so I'd perform in karaoke, and I was like, wow, this is like really a lot like performing karaoke in real life, to be honest with you. It's really not that much different, in terms of just the sensation, the feeling, the experience. I think there's a lot of fundamental differences, right? But the experience is very similar.
Yeah, I was going to say, you miss out on those real life things. Like, Jacob, if you did all VR comedy, nobody would want to beat you up outside for making fun of their girlfriend.
Well, I think that they would, but I think it would hurt a lot less.
And that's kind of one of the one thing about comedy, and like you guys know this, is like we're always trying to figure out what's funny. And like sometimes we get it wrong. And I will say, like, it feels a lot less consequential when I get it wrong in VR than when I get it wrong in front of a group of people in my city. And it might be even people that I see in VR more often. But I think this actually speaks more to the nature of the comedy scene in there. It's like, it really is like a true open mic where, if you say some fucked up shit, like the only person that's gonna be responsible for it is you. Like nobody else is gonna like try and tell you what to say or anything like that.
See, and it's
but, like,
weird
if it ain't funny, then
it's weird when you say things like the comedy scene in there. Like it just feels like there's this whole other world that we're just not experiencing.
I mean, to be honest with you, that's what it felt like to me when I stumbled upon it.
It's like in the Matrix when it's all fake. Like there's fake comedy clubs in the Matrix, but the people attending the fake comedy clubs in the Matrix don't realize that they're in the Matrix. So it's real to them. Right. You're in the Matrix. You got to take that thing off. We're going to get you out. We will rescue you.
So let me like just kind of back up there a little bit.
Let me get some sunglasses on real quick.
Yeah, like it's really, it's a tool. At the end of the day, like it's a tool to make real life comedy better. It's a tool for people that might not live in a city with a enough mics for them to go and do multiple mics a week, or even sometimes multiple mics a night.
Yeah.
It's a place to work out material to where now when I go perform in my city, they've never heard it before, and it's all been tested. So I mean, I think it kind of put me at an advantage locally, because I don't perform every week at the open mic nights, and then by the time the joke is worked out, everybody's heard it, every iteration of it along the way. Like, I've worked it out in front of different audiences in the way a touring comic might, right? International audiences, even different time zones have different open mic times. And I mean, you really could hit 5 open mics in a day in VR, which is what's insane to me about it. And with all different audiences. I mean, not every day, but that is something that's possible.
And I'm just wondering, like, because musicians do a lot of stuff in VR. They do a lot of concerts in VR and things like that. Like, who do you think is going to be the first, like, big comedian to kind of put their
It just
foot in
happened.
there? Who?
Pete Holmes just did a special for Meta where he. So the thing about the concerts is it's usually like a 3D video that you're seeing on a screen that might have depth to it, but it's not really much different than watching a 3D movie in like a theater. With Pete Holmes, it was like a pre-recorded motion capture of him in an avatar. And it was like he was another person in VR, just like we are in our comedy clubs, performing a set that was unique. Like, it was not material I'd heard him do on any of his other specials. And I'm a pretty big Pete Holmes fan. I've loved him a long time. And I think he's great. And I think he did a pretty good job with the medium, because he was able to like kind of like ask open-ended questions, almost like he was getting some audience interaction, even though it was pre-recorded. But it also had, some body language and things like that. And I'll say, like, performing improv in VR was way harder. And that's where I started, was performing improv in VR. And I've been doing improv for a long time, off and on. But, I took a couple of classes in college, continued with a troupe for a while. My friend Kim McShane teaches improv classes from time to time, and I would always take them with her and end up kind of helping her teach a little bit here and there. And she actually like came to one of my improv performances on a laptop that I was performing in VR when we were all on lockdown. So it was a way where I like got to, do some stuff that I loved when I couldn't. I didn't start doing comedy. I did comedy for the first time in real life, but I was aware of the VR comedy club already. So I just kind of used it to my advantage. I don't think you're right. Like, it's not a replacement. You have to take the headset off. Like, but I've ended up working with comedians all over the country and developed relationships with comedians all over the country where like if I wanted to go, and I don't mean want to, if I had the means right now to go like for 10 days up the East Coast, like I could probably get spots in like 8 or 10 cities with comedians that I've performed with. It's a great networking opportunity. It's a great way to work out material. It's not the end game, in my opinion, at all. And I feel like I'm kind of like I'm rambling, and y'all have a lot you want to understand about it, but I don't know that I'm answering your questions.
No, you're
you're good.
Yeah, you're good.
I was going to ask you if you've ever seen someone bomb so bad in VR that they just took the headset off.
Oh, yeah. And conversely, we've got, a lot of us will take, and I tried doing this a couple of times and it just didn't work out because like the Wi-Fi signal didn't work. But sometimes our comics will take their headset to an open mic in their city, and the comedians will like take turns backstage or whatever, or even in the parking lot, doing sets for us. I mean, we work with tour, like the guy that runs one of the Monday night open mics opened for Stavros like a month ago. Like the weekend that his movie Let's Start a Cult came out, he opened for Stavros. Like a lot of these guys, like all they do is comedy. Jordan Sermonera is a guy that I've performed with a couple of times, and he just put an album out on vinyl, like that was all crowdfunded. So, you know, a lot of other comedians are using it as a tool as well. But I think, like, I mean, it's always going to be kind of a technology block right now, I think, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just don't know if VR has taken off the way that they wanted it to by now. And I don't know if there's some sort of, like, whatever the barrier to entry is. Maybe it's price, or because, you know, nobody has $5,000 to slam down for an Apple headset, even though you can get a Meta Quest for, you know, a couple, what is it, like $300-400 now?
300 now, yeah.
Still, I mean, that's quite a little bit of change these days to drop down for something that you don't know if you're gonna like it or not.
I get that for sure. I've kind of been into VR since, like, the early days, though. You know, I mean, that's something that, like, I do understand that, like, I'm kind of at the cusp of new technology in a lot of ways that I mean, this thing is not super heavy, but it's still a couple of pounds.
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten, just since I've started, they've gotten more comfortable. The graphics have gotten better. The lenses have gotten more comfortable. You know, I think that down the road, we're going to see more and more of this kind of thing. And I do think that, like, games are cool, whatever, but live social interaction, live events, I think that's really where, and it's not a replacement for the real thing, you know, at all. Yeah. I would never, but neither is this, man. I mean, I'd much rather have come and, like, sat in a room with the two of y'all if that would have been feasible, right? But that's not feasible,
right?
On a Wednesday night. Like, I don't know how far away y'all are from each other, but I'm at least 90 minutes from y'all, at least. So,
yeah, we're about 20-30 minutes away from each other.
And I think that's kind of what it's about. It's about those types of situations.
Yeah. You know, and speaking of live performance in VR, a friend of mine wanted to ask you, are there any VR strip clubs?
So I don't know. Well, yeah, probably.
Asking for a friend there,
definitely
Jacob.
VR strippers.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like it goes straight to the champagne room.
Oh, okay. So
yeah. Like, I don't know that there's. I mean, yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yes. I mean,
okay.
If you're, like, talking about function instead of, like, by name, then absolutely 100%.
No, Jacob, we are not using Patreon money to buy
what's
VR
the
headset.
cheapest VR headset I can purchase right now?
I mean, the Quest 3S just came out in October. It has the latest chip. It has older lenses. But it's, like, kind of their budget headset. It's $300. It's everything you need to jump in to do VR comedy. And I hate Meta. Like, but I also, like, you know, like, the Catholic Church did a lot of shitty things, but they also, you know, occasionally they do charity.
Wait a minute. What are we talking about?
I feel like Meta. Yeah, I know. I jumped a little bit. All right. I hate Meta, right? Like, Meta as a company, as an entity, I think they've done a lot of really pretty terrible things. But like I said, you know, the Catholic Church has also done a lot of terrible things. But occasionally they do feed the homeless. And I think, like, with the research that they've put into VR is kind of like they've lost a lot of money doing it. And they haven't, you know, I think, like, that's the one kind of, like, gift they've given to people is, like, they're not making money on this yet.
Yeah, speaking of giving people gifts, if anyone listening is not currently in our Patreon at patreon.com/OM podcast, I'm going to need you to go ahead and go subscribe because Daddy's got to get $300 real quick, okay?
I mean, you're asking the wrong questions, though, man.
For unspecified purposes, I need exactly $300.
So I'm gonna answer your strip club question with another question.
Okay.
What industry has driven technology for the last 30 years?
Porn.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell
yeah, brother.
Yeah, I mean,
I just want to know when I can get a VR headset and I can just be Spider-Man. When they can make me feel like Spider-Man,
There's
I'll
two
buy
kinds
a
of
VR.
men.
so there's a couple of games that will allow you to do that. One of them is called Swarm. One of them is called Resist. Both of them are like zipline type games. But there is a Batman game that came out in the fall that is not only like one of the best VR games that's ever come out, but it was probably one of the best video games. Period.
I'll take being Batman. I mean, if you can't be
think
Spider-Man,
I
be
actually
Batman.
I think if you buy the 3S, you get that game for free. I don't know how long that deal lasts, but
Okay,
You get
patrons.
the strip club for free.
the strip clubs are always free. It's a
Jason.
champagne room that's going to cost you money.
All right, patrons, we're gonna need you guys to step up, and so we're both gonna need VR headsets now for two
We're
completely
gonna need $600 on the
for
Patreon.
completely unrelated purposes, because I want to be Batman, and Jacob wants to be a pervert. So,
Dude,
Well,
we
I
could
think-
have shared custody of a MetaQuest
I'm
where
not
we
using a headset after you. That's just not.
Dude,
No,
I'll just
you
have it on the
don't-
weekends. Just let me have it on the weekends. Let me see my boy. Let me see my boy on the weekends. You can't keep my boy away from me.
Man,
Oh,
I gotta say, like, I don't fuck with the VR porn. Like, it's not that I've never. You ever done a drug and you're like, oh, that was great, but it was dangerous. I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
Like,
See,
Like,
I think
feel
that's
like it would
why
really-
they have, because I think we've talked about this before. The sex bots are coming, and once the sex bots hit the market,
Pause.
dude, the human race is over. The human race is done for.
I mean, we're already done for.
Well, yeah,
We're
but
cooked.
they're just gonna
cooked.
once the sex bots get out there, it's done.
Yeah,
We're
once
over.
the sex
And
bots
that's
come,
why,
dude,
like-
Yeah.
the sex bots are coming and they're coming everywhere.
I mean, I think like VR porn and sex bots are how the AI take over. Like, you know,
Well, yeah.
between that and like our current leadership, I think we just beg them to.
Yeah. Well,
Mommy, please take a yeah, sure. Hit me again, mommy.
Yeah, I said this on the last podcast. I think that they're trying to keep everyone's balls so drained that the government stays in complete totalitarian control
Yeah.
because everyone's going to be too relaxed to fight back.
I mean, if we get the federal like legalization of weed, then I'm probably going to have to agree with that hypothesis. Like I think between the two things, like if you get like legal weed and legal VR porn, you can get rid of like 80% of the population giving a shit about anything else. So like,
Yeah.
Crime
Yeah.
rates plummet. What they should do is they should just give out free VR headsets. You know, like samples of Tide in the mail. Like they should just give out free VR headsets, and then they make their money on the back end. Like once people get in
trust
there,
me, like with the VR porn, like it gets everywhere, man. You can't see the real world.
What gets everywhere?
You're gonna need more Tide.
let
bro.
me tell you something.
You're
dude.
gonna need more Tide.
The real world is severely fucking overrated these days. I'm looking for any fucking way to get out of the fucking real world for a little while. So
Dude, you're the reverse Morpheus, dude. You're a white bald man who wants to go into the
dude,
Matrix.
I literally
He's
I have,
Cypher, 100%.
You're literally
I
Cypher,
was gonna
dude.
say
You're Joey Pants.
I am fucking Cypher.
You're Joey Pants right now.
I want the Matrix to tell me that this steak is juicy and flavorful, and just when you plug me back in, make me someone rich. Just make me rich and important, and I want the Matrix to tell me that my brain is telling my brain that this is turkey jerky. That's what I want. I want to be just ram me back into the Matrix.
Wait, what?
Have y'all heard about the simulation theory?
Oh yeah,
Y'all onto this shit?
Yeah. Oh,
Well, as someone who has used a lot of VR, like I think we are probably like 50 years away from, at the bare maximum, like the maximum, we're like 50 years away from being able to completely trick the brain into being into a different reality.
Dude, I think we're already there, because that's why I keep begging I keep making posts on social media that whoever's running these servers, that I want to be moved to a new server because this one is broken.
Well, and that's the basis of simulation. If in our reality right now, we're only, 30, 50 years away from being able to completely trick the brain into thinking it's in a different reality, taste, sense, smell, every sensation, then like it's mathematically really unlikely that we're in the original one.
Yeah.
Oh shit, dude. Dude, so when you use VR now, if we are in a simulation, then you're using a simulation inside of a simulation, and then before you know it, you've gone full exhibit, dog.
How do you know we're not already a simulation inside of a simulation? Have you seen that Rick and Morty episode?
Yo, dog.
Where the battery is a whole civilization? I mean, we might be that, bro. Who knows?
What if we're just a very futuristic version of The Sims?
I mean, I got to be honest. I did get in the swimming pool last summer, and when I tried to get out, the ladder was just gone. I don't know what happened.
See, Jacob don't know about that.
Yeah, it was weird, man. Luckily, it was not a deep end. Like there was no deep end because insurance won't cover that shit anymore.
Let me explain it to Jacob because he doesn't know what you're talking about.
All the younger viewers.
Okay,
out there.
Jacob. When you play The Sims and you want to just torture one of your Sims, you put them in a pool and then you make the ladder disappear and then he can't get out. And so he just eventually dies in the pool.
That's a good, funny prank.
Yeah.
That's a good prank.
You can also take the toilet out of the house and lock them in the house. Like take the doors out of rooms. Like there's all kinds of ways. Like I feel like The Sims made us all explore a part of our psyche that maybe we didn't necessarily need to explore.
Yeah. Like we might all be a little bit murderous just for no. And when you do it to a Sims character and you're just like so completely detached from that character, it's like maybe that's like what God is like with us.
I mean, and I don't know about you, man, but that was like the original VR porn for me.
I was watching The Sims woohoo.
I'm into some dark shit. I don't know.
Look, this is as old head as I can get. Is when I was a kid, I had a VHS copy of the 2002 perfect motion picture Spider-Man by Sam Raimi. And there was the scene where when Spider-Man and Mary Jane kiss for the first time in the rain, there's one part where you could pause it and you could see one of Kirsten Dunst's little titties. They edited out of the DVD version, but on VHS, boy, that bad boy was still in there.
Man, that sounds like everybody that grew up on dial-up internet.
Oh yeah, I had dial-up internet. I was poor.
Kirsten Dunst.
Do we have dial-up VR?
I did not have that on my bingo card for today.
Kirsten Dunst's little titty.
Jacob, what world did you live in where you had dial-up internet but never played The Sims?
I don't know, man. A very bizarre redneck one. I don't know. We were poor and dumb. We didn't know no better. I was just watching. I basically just watched a VCR copy of Spider-Man every single day.
I mean, I guess
don't ask me why.
To me, I'm thinking like The Sims is what I did before I had high-speed internet.
Right. Do you think that I could connect a VR headset to my telephone and call into a comedy show? Can I get full dial-up VR going?
So here's the thing about Meta's headset.
Can I enter the cyberspace?
If you use WhatsApp, you
Okay.
can use WhatsApp within their headset. You can do voice calls that way. Yeah, there's all kinds of ways you can also like cast it and broadcast it out. I've done some streams. Like I stream on Twitch and Kick has been getting a bad rap lately, but like they actually pay their people. So like I don't care about like all the gambling and incel bullshit going on there, but they actually like give you like 90% of the money you make on there. So when I stream on there, and I've done like where I've streamed from my perspective doing comedy on stage to where like the audience got to see what it was like for us. And I mean it's really, it goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning, like the experience of it, not much different. I'll say this, there's plenty of jokes that work in real life that might not work in VR because you don't have as much ability to do body language or facial expression, or I mean it is kind of also like you're already dealing with kind of a niche audience.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the ways it's worked for me is like I'm one of those people, right? Like I'm one of the weirdos that got into VR. Like I didn't get into VR to do comedy. I got into VR and then I got into comedy and then kind of merged the two. That being said, like I kind of always knew I was going to be a comedian. I think it's rare for young comics to have anything important to say. So I always was like, by the time I'm 30, I'll do it. And then like, well, I was like 33 when COVID hit, but I was a young dad. My kid's almost grown up now. So like, I was kind of like, all right, well, it's time to embarrass her.
Hell yeah, dude.
I didn't want
It's
to do it
never
when she
too
was
early
too
to
young.
start.
I didn't want to do it when she was too young.
Never too early to start.
And then, well, I mean, sometimes like, I'll be honest, man. Sometimes like you just gotta have nothing left to lose, and that's what does it. But I've been a lifelong comedy fan. I remember in third grade we had a school talent show, and I can't even remember who it was, but I made some poor motherfucker that I was friends with reenact "Who's on First" by Abbott and Costello with me in front of the whole goddamn school.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think all comics are like wannabe or failed musicians or rock stars.
Yeah, Jason. Yeah, Jason, you fucking piece of shit, garbage
You
person.
just called me right the fuck out to
Yeah,
Sorry,
on
bro,
my
but
own
that's
show.
Like, I say that shit on stage. Like that's a joke I tell on stage, and it's never not been
Damn.
true.
That bullet hit me right between the eyes right here on this show.
Dude, I like the reason I wrote that joke is because we can smell our own, but I'm a karaoke singer, right? Like I can sing like 2 songs and then like my voice is gone. I've never been able to play an instrument, but like I've seen my favorite band 121 times.
Who's your favorite
I'm
band?
obsessed with music. I'll get into that in a second. Like that's going to be a whole nother podcast, bro.
Dude, watch it be 3 Doors Down.
Dude, if it's 3 Doors Down, this
What would you do if it was
fuck
3 Doors
no.
Down?
Dude,
I mean,
I
I'll
would
name the band, but I can't get into it.
I would
they've been my
literally
favorite band for
stop
20
this
years.
podcast right now.
No,
if
they're
it was-
band called the Drive-By Truckers.
Oh, I know who that. Yeah, Drive By Truckers is awesome.
Yeah,
Dude, you should have said 3 Doors Down. It would have been fucking the best.
No,
bit.
I've never seen 3 Doors Down.
You're not missing anything.
No, I mean, they have a song about Superman though.
Hell yeah.
So like maybe that'll be the theme for the VR Superman game when it comes out.
Yeah, but they do get it get it wrong in their song too, because kryptonite is not what makes Superman strong, but we won't get into that.
You know what the worst part about that is? Like the most embarrassing part about that is not being a nerd about Superman. It's about knowing the lyrics to Kryptonite well enough.
To be fair, Jason used to tour opening for Three Doors Down, so
Yeah,
he's
I
definitely
used-
heard that
I used
song.
to be
yeah.
in a band
To
that
be-
was on a record label owned by the bass player for Three Doors Down.
One of the first bands I ever worked for as a teenager actually went on tour with Three Doors Down. A band called No Address. Shout out to those guys.
I
They,
don't
you know,
them.
Hell yeah, dude.
but you know, rock and roll saved my life as a teenager. I think the same, you know, the core of that joke though, man, it's not even mean spirited, man. The core of that
Yeah,
joke
it
is
is.
that like
Be nasty.
no, I mean, but the core of that joke is that the same fire burns inside of comics that burns inside of musicians, right? Like,
That's called an STD.
that one burns. That mine are external typically, but anyway, the internal burn that I'm talking about though is like the same shit that you know makes most artists of some sort, right? It's like we're a little bit fucked up. We're a little bit, you know, I don't think it necessarily has to come from darkness, but like there's something's not right about like all of us. Like
It's
there's
the
that
need
one
to
thing
be-
might be different.
It's the
but,
need
like,
to be liked and just social approval. It's like
You know,
we
it's just
crave
being-
approval.
just being just a little unwell. You know, not crazy, just a little
Right.
unwell.
Yeah.
Although Ari Shaffir, in his latest special that just came out, he points out rightly like the high artists, like the high art, like they're always fucking nuts.
Yeah. True.
but I think
Like the band
like
Three
I said,
Doors
the
Down.
same fire is inside, and like my whole life, you know, I've been around music. Like I worked in record stores all through college and managed bands. I even tried to start a small record label at one point. And so like that's why I fucking know that comedians, because when I started doing comedy, I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. What am I talking about? But it's because I failed at being a musician or something tangential to it for years and years and years that like
Yeah. So
it's the same and we always hang out with the rock stars too. Like that's the
Yeah.
cool part of it.
Because see, I was always such a huge fan of Henry Rollins that, like, you know, he's like, you can get on stage and do music, and then you can go on tour by yourself, just talking on stage and telling stories and jokes. Like that sounds like the greatest life ever.
Yeah, Henry Rollins is a personal hero of mine too, man. I see your Misfits thing.
Oh yeah.
But
So,
yeah, I mean, just
on
go
the
ahead.
VR, are there any like driving simulators on the VR?
oh yeah, man. In fact, I would say like that's probably what VR is the best at is like VR racing, flight sims. Like you can do Microsoft Flight Simulator in VR, and
Oh,
like
sweet.
you know, I mean, VR is like it is what you like. That's the kind of the point. Is it's whatever you make it, man. It's like you can go in Google Earth and just like go look at a bunch of shit all over the world, or you can plan your next vacation, or you like there's like I was watching this show the other night where they were talking about VR therapy, like saving Bam from fucking Jackass.
Yeah.
You know, from his drug addiction. You know what I mean? And I've helped test a lot of VR games and apps, but like I won't specify which ones because I had to sign NDAs, but like there are meditation apps. There's a therapy app that's like a group therapy app. You can really like apply it to almost anything, man. There's gaming is like a part of it, but it's almost like you know how your parents probably felt when they got on the internet for the first time.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know what that would have been like, right? Like I was like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
And then I did VR, like then I got like really, you know, pretty into VR. And it was like I feel like my mind was blown by it in all these different ways, not just comedy, not just gaming, not just the social stuff. And yes, get the fuck outside and you know, touch grass. But like on a rainy day or during a global pandemic,
Yeah. Or if you're a member of Three Doors Down, definitely use the VR driving simulator and don't go outside and drive your car after a night on the town.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think like, and this is what it kind of is like. It's a tool. It can be a tool for fun.
Yeah, just like Three Doors Down. Fucking tools.
Man.
Jeez. Jacob going for the kill tonight.
Not as much as one member of Three Doors Down did, dude. Let's fucking go.
Like, I'm just like, you're gonna lose like, 3 listeners that really love that band.
Yeah, the members of Three Doors Down that aren't in prison. Just keep setting me up, boys. I'm on fire.
Woo.
Just like the asshole of the member of Three Doors Down that's in prison. I'm fucking on fire.
I love that you're doing like one of the things that I do. I'm big, I'm a huge music guy, obviously, and I incorporate like a lot of music in. I don't like sing, but I tell jokes about music a lot on stage, which is like, it's a lot of fun for me, whether it be like stories about musicians and then telling jokes about that, or like I've got a bit where I just add a word to a band name or a music group's name, and it just to ruin it, like the sole purpose is to ruin the band's name.
Oh, that's all. That was always one of my favorite things to do, like on social media, like old school Twitter, where there would be a hashtag to like add a letter, ruin a band name.
Yeah.
So, and you just sit there all day long, like adding letters to like band names, just like coming up with funny shit. And it would like hone your comedy skills. And then like, I don't know, like nobody does that shit anymore.
I mean, I was actually hosting, and I'm about to probably start it back up pretty soon here at a different bar, but I was hosting a music trivia game for several months last year. And while they'd sit there and answer the questions, I'd just like sit there with like all the bands that I was asking them questions about or the playlist that I was playing, and I'd try and add a word to the name of the band just to fucking ruin it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I had a lot of fun, and it's gotten to like, I did it so much to where like I'll take requests from the audience, and sometimes it bombs, but I always, I've got a couple in the pocket that'll bring it back. Mm.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
I mean, like some of the sillier ones were like Ben Folds 5 napkins.
Yeah.
Or like fingerprints.
Oh, yeah. I think that's my favorite one now.
And then, but I'd get a little bit darker with it sometimes too, like System of a Down syndrome.
Yeah. 3 car doors down.
All right, I think it's time to start wrapping it up at this point before Jacob gets me really in trouble.
Blackface Sabbath is another favorite, but the one that like when you really want to ruin a band name or a music group's name, there's always the Wu-Tang Klux Klan.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Right. Man, it's been a real pleasure.
Yeah,
do y'all have any other questions? Just like, I feel like I kind of touched on a lot of different things. Is there any gaps you want me to fill just kind of about the VR comedy scene? Like, I will tell you that like one of the groups in there, Failed to Render, like they won Rain Dance for best immersive experience a few years ago.
Rain Man.
Pete Holmes is been working with Meta. He did a special exclusively for VR. It's Keenan has done some stuff in there. Reggie Watts has done a few performances in there. We got Howie Mandel to put a headset on a few months ago. I don't know that he actually like did much in there, but the fact that he was willing to put on something that somebody else wore on their face was kind of amazing to me.
Yeah, he's a huge germaphobe.
Yeah, I love that guy, but
yeah, what a hero.
If anybody's interested or has already has a VR headset, and our patrons step up so we can get a couple of headsets for ourselves.
I need $600 right now. So.
And but if you already have a VR headset, what's a good place for them to go to kind of dip their feet into the comedy scene?
So Meta's got their own like club that I think they've kind of sponsored called the Soapstone Comedy Club that's in Horizon Worlds. There's the Savoy Comedy Club that I think exists both within VR chat and also Banter, if I'm not mistaken. And then also maybe also in VR. So a lot of these groups will try and have like different venues on different platforms. And that's kind of like having, you get a different group of people, different night, different time zones sometimes. And I'm just talking about the North American ones. There's European ones, there's Australian ones, there's groups of people almost 24 hours a day that you can go tell jokes to in VR. Some of them are a lot more organized than others. The original one, they've been doing it for over 4 years now. They're called Failed to Render. I've done probably the most performances with them than anybody else. I've worked out a lot of material with them. They're a great group of people. Failedtorender.com is their website, but they actually have like a bouncer. They have they always have a host. They introduce every comic. That's the place that Tommy Simbazo runs an open mic. They've recreated this place from San Francisco called the Brainwash Cafe that used to have comedy shows. It's closed now, but they've recreated it in VR. There's a lot of different places to go. But honestly, if anybody's really super interested in getting into VR comedy, hit me up. You can just hit me up at feddunxr@gmail.com or my website. It's pretty bare bones right now, but feddun.net. And my podcast will be coming out in the next probably about 4 weeks. I just finally got some permissions with the title and stuff sorted out, but it's called Overeducated and Underemployed. And that'll be coming out in just a few weeks here. You'll find all that information on feddun.net. But seriously, anybody that's interested in getting into VR comedy, reach out to me. I'm like, hell, if you guys want to make a trip up here, I got a headset you can put on, if you want to try it before you buy it.
Awesome.
I just need $600 and that's it.
Or also like, dude, like I feel like he's not gonna shut up about it until you just put it in the Patreon, y'all.
Just go ahead and do the. He's gonna do this every week until you guys get us up to $600 a month, and
I need $600. Come on, man. You guys like Three Doors Down jokes? I got so many more where those are coming from. Just give me $600.
Good Lord.
If they give you $300, will you tell those jokes from Three Doors Down?
I'll tell those jokes to Three Doors Down.
I just meant like, so we didn't,
Oh, I just realized what you said. You are being a little nasty fucker now, aren't you, huh? Being a little nasty
I love
boy.
you guys. I just, I'm a roaster sometimes. I can't help it. It's like, I'm here, if it comes to like, and this is why I don't have that many friends sometimes, I think. I have some friends, but I always put the joke above their feelings.
Hell yeah. Yeah, dude. Jokes are forever. Friends are not.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, Feddun, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. And like you said, if anybody out there needs to get a hold of them, just go to feddun.net. And what was it? feddunxr@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
And Jacob, where are we? This comes out on Friday. Where are we going to be tomorrow night, February 1st?
Dude, tomorrow night, we're going to be in Mobile, Alabama, at Oyster City Brewing Company, opening again once more for the man, the myth, the legend, Mo Alexander. It's going to be a fun fucking time. Jason's going to be there in person. I'm going to put on a VR headset and fucking, I'm going to metaverse my way into the mainframe, dude. I'm going to hack my way into comedy.
Let's fucking go.
I've been a hack in comedy. Now I'm hacking my way into comedy. Go check out that show. Get in the Patreon, patreon.com/OpenMicersPodcast. We film a vlog every time me and Jason do a show together. So if you want to see the vlog, if you want to see all the other fun stuff we're doing over there, subscribe for as little as $1 a month or as much as $300 a month, which will be a new Patreon tier that we'll make. $300 a month. Buy us a VR headset.
We'll call it the VR Daddy. A tier if you want to be our VR daddy.
VR headset to get my dick wet. You know what I'm saying, brother? That's going to be the name of the tier.
I feel like I've created a monster.
You have. You should be very proud of yourself at what you've done to him tonight. Now I got
as much of a monster as the bass player from Three Doors Down.
Jesus Christ. All right, we're going to get out of here. If you want to email us at gmail.com. OpenMicersPodcast at gmail.com. Go to OpenMicers.com as our website. And, of course, Linktree.com/OpenMicersPodcast takes you everywhere you need to go. All the socials, all the ways to give us money, all that good stuff. And don't forget to go to BRezCoffeeCo.com and use the code OMPodcast at checkout for 10% off your order. We love all of you, and we'll see you right here next week.
Peter's down. Please don't sue us. We don't have $300 for a MetaQuest.
Hey, that was a lot of fun, you guys. I really enjoyed that. Thank you guys so much for having me on, man.